Ciao, we're Greg and Jeannie, and welcome to our Italian Renaissance renovation. In 2021, we bought a 16th century home in Tuscany, Italy. This is our story of how this historic home received a new lease on life. Join our journey as we share every step of the renovation process. It all began in November 2021, and we are finally putting the finishing touches on this beautiful Renaissance home today. In April 2022, I flew solo to get work started on our kitchen. That meant 5 flights starting in Kenai, Alaska, and ending in Florence, Italy. When I arrived, work had paused, so our crew could focus on other projects around town. All of the new electrical had been put into the walls and covered with cement. The wall sealing off the soggiorno, or living room, had been pulled down, and all of the drop ceiling had been removed. For the first time, I was able to see the chestnut beams in person. This was also the first time I was able to sleep in our new home. I didn't mind that I only had a bed, a couple of chairs, and a small bedside table. Before I arrived, our stove and refrigerator had been delivered. Now it was time to get started turning this area into a proper kitchen. My friend took me to a secondhand shop in Lucca, where I found a table we could use in the kitchen as part of our preparation area. It needed some TLC, but it had the storage we desperately needed. Next, I stopped in our local stone and terracotta supplier. These would be used as legs for the kitchen countertop. We wanted a rustic look for our kitchen. A day later, after the cement on the stones had set, the crew returned to set the countertop in place. A few days later, a friend took me on a tour around Tuscany. Our first stop was Volterra, where it felt like I had stepped back in time. This walled mountaintop town dates back to the 8th century BC and features Etruscan, Roman, and medieval architecture. The Porta all'Arco, or Arch Gate, is an ancient gateway featuring 3 heavily weathered stone heads. Volterra is also famous for its ancient Roman ruins. This theater dates back to the 1st century BC. From there, we drove about 40 minutes to San Gimignano. This medieval town is famous for its towers. These tall towers were once the ultimate status symbol of wealth and power. Of the original 72 towers, only 14 still stand today. In 1300, San Gimignano hosted Dante. You're surrounded by history every step that you take. We ended our evening in San Gimignano with a Brunello and took in the sights and sounds at sunset. The next day, work continued on our rustic kitchen. The sink arrived and was put into place. I finally had a functioning kitchen and no longer had to use the bathroom sink to wash dishes. The next phase was to find a bathroom mirror. I returned to the secondhand shop in Lucca and bought this mirror for about 10 euros. My neighbor kindly volunteered to help put it in place. He was very nervous drilling into the marble, but did a fantastic job installing the mirror and the lights. This was cause for celebration, which included an aperitivo at my local bar. Waking up to these views each morning is a dream come true. We are in a valley surrounded by these mountains and other hilltop towns. We've gotten to know our neighbors, including my furry friend Nino, who always greets me each morning. Ciao, Nino. Another alley cat also stopped by to say hello. Good morning. Buongiorno. Good morning. Good morning. Aw, it's okay. Vieni qui. He's so cute. Good morning, sweetie. Good morning. Good morning. No, okay. A few days later, I heard chatter coming from our courtyard. I looked out and saw a school group touring our courtyard. Unfortunately, my Italian skills at the time were not good enough to understand what the teacher was telling his students, but I could get the general idea. He was describing how these now individual homes were once the town comune, or offices of local officials, which included a jail and an armory. You can still see an arrow slit in my neighbor's wall. Besides history, I love the local bars and restaurants. I highly recommend Bonnie De Luca if you're visiting Tuscany. As an American, I had to get used to eating dinner much later in Italy. If you come to Europe, one thing you should know is that they eat dinner very late. It is 8 o'clock here in Italy tonight, and I am the only one in this restaurant right now. Let's take a look. Just me and the fire. But they have a huge party coming in here in about a half an hour. So I'm glad I got here before the big party, but this is very typical for Italians. They eat dinner very late. Probably even 10 o'clock is not something that's out of the ordinary here. So when you come, make sure you know that most places don't even open for dinner until 7 o'clock at night. By the time my risotto arrived, the restaurant was starting to fill up. I ended the evening with an espresso and a smile. Bonnie De Luca holds a special place in my heart, and I couldn't wait to begin the next phase of the restoration. On the next episode of our Italian Renaissance renovation, our biggest decision yet, we decided to remove the plaster on the front and expose the stone facade, plus big changes inside. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. We love sharing our journey with you. Ciao, and we'll see you next time.